They threw trash on a quiet employee at work. Then the undercover owner walks in and fired them all. Did you just dump garbage on him? The owner asked, his voice cutting through the stunned silence. The manager, who had been laughing seconds before, suddenly went pale. Sir, I can explain, but it was too late. What happened next would shut down the entire restaurant and change everything. If you believe workplace bullying should never be tolerated, please like and subscribe to our channel for more stories about justice in the workplace. Now let's see how one quiet employee's patience led to the most shocking confrontation in fast food history. Wealth Deli's Branch 72 opened its doors at 5:57 a.m., 3 minutes before the official opening time. The morning air was crisp and the fluorescent lights inside cast harsh shadows across the empty dining area. Chad Riker, the branch manager, unlocked the front door and immediately began his daily routine of checking registers and reviewing the previous night's closing reports. At exactly 6:00 a.m., a tall, quietly confident man approached the entrance. He wore simple khakis and a plain button-down shirt, carrying nothing but a small backpack. His demeanor was calm, almost serene, as he waited patiently for Chad to notice him. You must be the new hire, Chad said, looking up from his paperwork. Elijah Brooks, right? That's correct, Elijah replied, his voice steady and professional. Chad sized him up quickly, mid-30s, well-groomed, articulate. Something about Elijah didn't fit the typical profile of their usual hires. Most people who applied for dishwasher positions were either teenagers looking for their first job or older workers who had exhausted other options. You ever worked food service before? Chad asked, leading Elijah toward the kitchen area. Some experience in various customer service roles, Elijah answered diplomatically. Well, this isn't customer service, Chad said with a slight smirk. This is the real deal. Fast-paced, hot, messy. You sure you're up for it? Elijah's response was simple but memorable. Only when necessary. Chad paused, intrigued by the unusual answer. Most new hires either oversold their capabilities or seemed intimidated by the job description. Elijah's calm confidence was different. The kitchen was already alive with controlled chaos as the morning prep crew arrived. Melody Carson, a shift leader with bleached blonde hair and an attitude to match, looked up from slicing vegetables when Chad brought Elijah through. This the new guy? She asked, not bothering to hide her skeptical assessment. Elijah Brooks, Chad announced. He'll be starting on dish duty. Darren Wilson, another shift leader, known for his crude humor and territorial behavior, emerged from the walk-in cooler carrying cases of lettuce. Looks a little clean for kitchen work, he commented with a laugh. Jason Pitts, a line cook, who had been with the company for 3 years but still acted like he owned the place, glanced over from the grill. I give him till Friday, he said loud enough for everyone to hear. Bet you $20 he doesn't make it through the week. Elijah listened to their conversation without reaction, methodically arranging the cleaning supplies Chad had shown him. His movements were precise and purposeful, suggesting someone who was accustomed to bringing order to chaotic situations. You got something to say about that? Melody asked clearly, trying to provoke a response. I'm here to work, Elijah said simply, turning on the industrial dishwasher to begin his first shift. The exchange set the tone for what would become a fascinating social experiment, though none of the Branch 72 staff realized they were about to become unwitting participants in something much larger than their daily routine. As the morning progressed, Elijah worked with quiet efficiency. He learned the dishwashing system, quickly maintained a steady pace despite the increasing volume of dirty dishes, and never once complained about the heat, the mess, or the demanding pace. What struck Chad most was Elijah's reaction when asked to clean the employee restroom, a task that was typically used as a test of new hires' commitment. Most people either refused outright or grudgingly accepted with visible disgust. Elijah simply asked for the appropriate cleaning supplies and completed the task thoroughly and without comment. Interesting, Chad muttered to himself, watching through the kitchen window as Elijah methodically sanitized every surface in the restroom. This new hire was definitely not what he had expected. 2 weeks into Elijah's employment at Branch 72, clear patterns had emerged that divided the staff into distinct camps. Chad's inner circle, consisting of Melody, Darren, and Jason, had established themselves as the unofficial gatekeepers of workplace culture, while newer employees like Maria Vasquez, a soft-spoken cashier, and Frank Pearson, a part-time prep cook, observed the dynamics with growing concern. Elijah continued to arrive 15 minutes early each day, using the extra time to organize his workspace and review the previous shift's notes. His consistency was remarkable. He never called in sick, never complained about overtime, and never seemed rattled by the increasingly chaotic lunch rushes that tested everyone's patience. "I don't get it," Melody said during a break room conversation that had become routine. "What's his angle? Nobody's that dedicated to washing dishes." "Maybe he's just grateful to have a job," Maria suggested quietly, though her tone indicated she didn't entirely believe her own explanation. Darren leaned back in his chair, studying Elijah through the break room window as he worked. "Nah, there's something off about him. He's too composed, like he's studying us or something." "You're being paranoid," Jason said, but his expression suggested he shared Darren's suspicions. What none of them knew was that Elijah was indeed studying them, but not for the reasons they imagined. Each evening after his shift ended, Elijah would return to a modest hotel room and spend an hour documenting his observations in an encrypted file that was automatically uploaded to a secure server. His notes painted a concerning picture of Branch 72's culture. Day 14 favoritism system is deeply entrenched. Chad's inner circle enjoys flexible scheduling, extended breaks, and immunity from criticism. New hires are subjected to what appears to be deliberate hazing designed to encourage quick turnover. Observe Darren deliberately giving incorrect instructions to Sarah New sandwich prep, resulting in wasted food and public criticism from Chad. Health code violations are routine and systematic. Witness Jason changing expiration dates on deli meat packages. Chad was present and made no comment. Temperature logs are being falsified. Sarah admitted she records required temperatures rather than actual readings to avoid confrontation. Customer service standards vary dramatically based on employee mood and personal relationships. Maria consistently provides excellent service but receives no recognition. Melody's service quality depends entirely on whether she likes the customer's appearance or attitude. The documentation was part of a larger investigation that had been months in the planning. Owen Matz, the owner of Wealth Deli's 47 locations, had become increasingly concerned about reports from multiple branches regarding employee treatment, health code compliance, and customer satisfaction. Traditional corporate inspections had proven ineffective. Managers could easily maintain appearances during scheduled visits, and employees were reluctant to report problems through official channels for fear of retaliation. Owen's solution was unconventional hire behavioral consultants to work undercover in problematic locations, documenting real culture, and identifying systemic issues that couldn't be detected through conventional oversight. Elijah Brooks wasn't just a dishwasher. He was Dr. Elijah Brooks, a workplace psychology consultant with 15 years of experience in organizational behavior analysis. His calm demeanor and ability to remain unflappable under pressure weren't just personality traits, they were professional skills honed through years of working in hostile environments. Branch 72 had been selected for this intensive evaluation based on its concerning statistics. 340% annual employee turnover, the highest customer complaint rate in the company, and 3 health department warnings in the past year. As Elijah continued his work, he began to understand why these problems persisted. The toxic culture wasn't accidental. It was actively cultivated by management that prioritized personal relationships over professional standards. By the third week, the dynamics at Branch 72 had intensified. Chad's inner circle had grown increasingly uncomfortable with Elijah's presence, though they couldn't articulate exactly why. His competence was undeniable, his work ethic was exemplary, and customers had begun specifically complimenting his helpfulness during busy periods when he stepped in to assist with various tasks. "It's not natural," Darren complained during yet another break room session. "Nobody's that good at everything without trying to show off." "Maybe he's corporate," Melody suggested, "like a secret shopper or something." Chad dismissed the idea. "Corporate doesn't care enough to send secret shoppers to Branch 72. Besides, I've seen his application and references. He's just some guy who needed a job." What Chad didn't know was that Owen Matz had been reviewing footage from newly installed hidden cameras throughout the restaurant. The cameras, disguised as routine security upgrades, captured not just the trash incident that would eventually make headlines, but weeks of systematic misconduct that painted a damning picture of Branch 72's operations. Owen watched from his corporate office as Chad deliberately changed expiration dates on food packages, as Darren gave incorrect instructions to new employees, and as Melody provided dramatically different levels of service based on customers' appearance and perceived economic status. The legal team had advised patients they needed a clear behavioral trigger that would justify the dramatic action Owen was planning. That trigger came on a busy Saturday when the lunch rush exposed every weakness in Branch 72's operations. The restaurant was packed with a line of customers extending almost to the door. Two employees had called in sick, leaving the remaining staff overwhelmed and stressed. While Elijah moved efficiently between dishwashing, food prep, and customer assistance, Chad's inner circle seemed to take the chaos as an opportunity to demonstrate their disdain for the man who made their own shortcomings more apparent. "Watch this," Darren whispered to Jason, grabbing a full garbage bag from the kitchen. What happened next would be replayed countless times on social media and eventually become a case study in workplace harassment and corporate accountability. Darren approached Elijah, who was focused on cleaning tables in the dining area, and without warning dumped the entire contents of the garbage bag over his head. Food scraps, coffee grounds, and various debris cascaded down Elijah's uniform and onto the freshly cleaned floor. The restaurant fell silent. Customers stared in shock, several pulling out their phones to record what happened next. Chad and his crew burst into laughter, with Jason recording the incident on his personal phone. "That's going in the Hall of Fame," Chad announced loudly enough for customers to hear. Elijah's response was characteristic. He calmly removed the larger pieces of debris from his clothing, asked Maria for cleaning supplies, and began methodically cleaning both himself and the mess around him. His expression never changed, his movements remained efficient, and he offered a quiet apology to the customers for the disruption. "Sir, are you okay?" an elderly customer asked, clearly disturbed by what she had witnessed. "I'm fine, thank you," Elijah replied professionally. "Let me get this cleaned up, and we'll get you taken care of." The incident lasted less than 5 minutes, but those 5 minutes would change everything at Branch 72 and eventually across the entire Wealth Deli chain. What Chad and his crew didn't notice in their amusement was the tall, well-dressed man who had entered through the front door just as Darren was dumping the garbage. The man stood quietly near the entrance, his expression growing darker as he witnessed the harassment and its aftermath. Owen Matz had arrived for what was supposed to be a routine inspection, but he had just witnessed something that transformed his visit into a corporate reckoning. Owen Matz stood in the entrance of Branch 72, flanked by two corporate representatives who had accompanied him for what was supposed to be a standard management review. The timing of their arrival, just as Darren dumped garbage on Elijah, was coincidental, but Owen would later describe it as the most important coincidence of his business career. The restaurant remained unnaturally quiet as Elijah continued cleaning. Customers whispered among themselves, and Chad's crew gradually realized that something was wrong. The laughter had died away, replaced by a growing sense of unease, as they noticed the well-dressed strangers near the entrance. Owen walked deliberately across the dining room, his footsteps echoing in the silence. He stopped directly in front of Chad, who was still grinning at what he considered a successful prank. "Did you just dump garbage on that employee?" Owen asked, his voice carrying the quiet authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed. Chad's expression shifted from amusement to confusion to growing alarm as he tried to process the situation. "Sir, I can explain." "I'm sure you can," Owen interrupted. "But first let me introduce myself. I'm Owen Matz, and I own this restaurant." The color drained from Chad's face. Darren, who had been standing proudly beside his manager, suddenly found the floor fascinating. Melody and Jason exchanged panicked glances, realizing that their careers had just taken a catastrophic turn. "Dr. Brooks," Owen said, addressing Elijah directly, "are you all right?" The use of Dr. Brooks sent shockwaves through the staff. Maria's eyes widened in surprise. Frank stopped pretending to work, and even Sarah looked up from her station with newfound interest. "I'm fine, Mr. Matz," Elijah replied, setting down his cleaning supplies. "Though I think we have quite a bit to discuss." Owen nodded grimly. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced to the entire restaurant, "I want to apologize to our customers for what you've just witnessed. Your meals today are complimentary, and I assure you this behavior does not represent what Wealth Deli stands for." He turned back to Chad, whose face had gone from pale to red as the full implications of the situation became clear. "For the past month, we've had cameras monitoring this location due to numerous customer complaints and health code violations. Dr. Brooks has been documenting the culture and management practices here as part of a comprehensive evaluation. Owen pulled out his phone and played footage from the hidden cameras, Darren dumping garbage on Elijah Chad, changing expiration dates Melody, providing discriminatory service, and Jason giving false instructions to new employees. Chad Riker. Owen said formally, "You are terminated immediately for creating a hostile work environment, health code violations, and failure to maintain professional standards." Chad started to protest, but Owen continued without pause. Darren Wilson, "You are terminated for harassment and assault of a fellow employee." Melody Carson, "You are terminated for discriminatory customer service and participation in a hostile work environment." Jason Pitts, "You are terminated for health code violations and harassment." The four employees stood in stunned silence as corporate security, who had been waiting outside, entered to escort them from the premises. "The rest of you," Owen said, addressing Maria, Frank, Sarah, and the remaining staff, "I owe you an apology. You've been working in a toxic environment that should never have been allowed to develop. Branch 72 will be closed for 1 week with full pay for all remaining employees while we restructure operations and bring in new management." As Chad and his crew were escorted out, Owen turned to address the customers who had remained to witness the unprecedented confrontation. "I started this company because I believe everyone deserves to be treated with dignity and respect, our employees and our customers. What happened here today violated everything we stand for, and I promise you it will never happen again." The customers, many of whom had been filming the incident, began to applaud. Several approached Owen personally to express their appreciation for his response, and more than one mentioned they would be returning specifically because of how he had handled the situation. Elijah, now revealed as Dr. Brooks, spent the remainder of the day documenting his findings and working with Owen's team to develop a comprehensive plan for transforming not just Branch 72, but the entire Wealth Deli operation. The incident would be shared millions of times on social media, but more importantly, it would become the catalyst for industry-wide changes in how companies address workplace harassment and toxic management cultures. 1 month after what local media dubbed Trash Day, Branch 72 reopened to a line of customers that stretched around the block. The story had gone viral on social media, transforming the restaurant from a local embarrassment into a symbol of corporate accountability and workplace justice. The physical space had been completely renovated during the closure. The kitchen gleamed with new equipment, the dining area featured comfortable seating and improved lighting, and most notably, visible security cameras were installed throughout the restaurant with clear signage indicating quality assurance monitoring in progress. Maria Vasquez, who had been promoted to shift supervisor, unlocked the doors at exactly 6:00 a.m. to find dozens of customers waiting to see the location that had become a local legend. "Welcome to the new Branch 72, she said with a confidence that would have been impossible under the previous management. "We're excited to serve you." The transformation extended far beyond cosmetic improvements. Diane Chen, the new branch manager, had been selected specifically for her experience in turning around troubled locations. Her management philosophy emphasized clear communication, consistent standards, and genuine respect for both employees and customers. "Everyone here matters," Diane explained during the staff meeting that reopened the restaurant. "From dishwashing to management, every role is essential to our success. We succeed together or we fail together." Sarah Williams, who had been promoted to lead sandwich preparation, no longer exhibited the nervous eye twitch that had developed under Chad's management. Frank Pearson had been designated as an employee mentor, helping new hires navigate their first weeks without the hazing that had previously been considered normal. The staff break room had been completely redesigned with comfortable seating, proper lighting, and a small library focused on professional development and workplace ethics. A suggestion box with guaranteed anonymous review had been installed along with direct contact information for corporate human resources. Dr. Elijah Brooks had resumed his role as a traveling consultant, but his work at Branch 72 had evolved into something larger. The Branch 72 protocol became the standard for addressing toxic workplace cultures across the Wealth Deli chain and eventually influenced practices at other restaurant companies. The protocol included anonymous employee surveys conducted quarterly, mystery shoppers specifically trained to evaluate staff treatment, management bonuses tied directly to employee retention and satisfaction scores, mandatory training on workplace harassment and professional conduct, clear escalation procedures that bypass local management for serious complaints. Owen Matz had made the decision to be completely transparent about the incident and its aftermath. Rather than trying to minimize the negative publicity, he embraced it as an opportunity to demonstrate genuine corporate accountability. "We made mistakes," he said during a press conference announcing the company-wide changes, "but what matters is how we respond to those mistakes and what we do to ensure they never happen again." The response from both employees and customers exceeded all expectations. Employee applications increased by 400% across all locations, with many applicants specifically citing the company's demonstrated commitment to workplace respect. Customer satisfaction scores reached all-time highs, and sales at Branch 72 increased by 60% compared to pre-incident levels. 6 months after reopening, Owen made an unannounced visit to Branch 72. Unlike his previous corporate inspections, this visit was relaxed and informal. He greeted employees by name, asked about their families, and spent time observing operations without the tension that had previously characterized management visits. "How are things going, Maria?" he asked the shift supervisor as she prepared his usual order. "Things are really good, Mr. Matz," she replied with a genuine smile. "Really good." She and Owen. The transformation was complete, but its impact continued to ripple throughout the industry as other companies studied the Branch 72 case and implemented similar accountability measures in their own operations. The Branch 72 incident became more than just a viral video or a single company's transformation. It sparked a broader conversation about workplace dignity and corporate responsibility that influenced practices across the food service industry and beyond. Dr. Elijah Brooks found himself in demand as a consultant for companies seeking to address their own toxic workplace cultures. His methodology, refined through the Branch 72 experience, was adopted by organizations ranging from retail chains to healthcare systems. The key insight, Elijah explained during a presentation to the National Restaurant Association, is that toxic cultures don't develop overnight, and they can't be fixed with policy changes alone. You have to understand the human dynamics that create and sustain these environments. His approach emphasized what he called authentic integration, consultants who worked alongside employees for extended periods, rather than conducting brief interviews or surveys that could be easily manipulated by management. The legal ramifications of the Branch 72 incident extended beyond the terminations. Chad Darren Melody and Jason faced both civil lawsuits and criminal charges related to workplace harassment and food safety violations. The cases established important precedents for holding individual employees accountable for creating hostile work environments. More significantly, the incident prompted legislative action in several states. The Branch 72 laws required restaurants above certain sizes to maintain continuous video monitoring of work areas and established whistleblower protections for employees reporting workplace harassment. Owen Matz had transformed Wealth Deli from a regional chain struggling with reputation issues into a national model for ethical business practices. The company's stock price increased by 180% in the year following the incident, driven not just by improved financial performance, but by investor confidence in sustainable business practices. "We discovered that doing the right thing isn't just morally correct, it's profitable," Owen noted during an interview with Harvard Business Review. "Treating employees well reduces turnover costs, improves service quality, and creates customer loyalty that can't be bought with advertising." The Branch 72 protocol had been implemented across all Wealth Deli locations and licensed to over 200 other companies. Employee turnover across the chain dropped to industry-leading lows, while customer satisfaction and financial performance reached record highs. Maria Vasquez had been promoted again, becoming the youngest district manager in company history. Her success story, from a nervous cashier afraid to speak up to a confident leader, became a recruiting tool that attracted high-quality candidates who might not have previously considered food service careers. "I learned that your voice matters," Maria said during a company-wide video conference. "But more importantly, I learned that good companies want to hear your voice especially when you're pointing out problems." Frank Pearson had used his experience as an employee mentor to develop a career in human resources, eventually joining Owen's corporate team as Director of Employee Relations. His firsthand understanding of workplace dynamics from an employee perspective proved invaluable in preventing future incidents. Sarah Williams had completed her GED with company support and was pursuing a business degree through Wealth Deli's Educational Assistance Program. Her transformation from a fearful new hire to a confident team leader demonstrated the potential that could be unlocked when employees felt safe and supported. The broader impact extended to customers as well. Branch 72 became a destination for business groups studying ethical leadership, and the restaurant regularly hosted discussions about workplace culture and corporate responsibility. "We've become an example," Diane Chen, the branch manager, observed. "That's both an honor and a responsibility. Every day we have to prove that this transformation is real and sustainable." The incident had also influenced how other companies handled their own workplace crises. The Owen Matz response, immediate action, complete transparency, and systematic reform became a case study taught in business schools and crisis management courses. Dr. Brooks continued his work as a consultant, but also began teaching at the university level, developing curricula that prepared future business leaders to recognize and address toxic workplace cultures before they cause serious harm. The most important lesson from Branch 72, he would tell his students, is that culture isn't something that happens to an organization. It's something that's created by the daily choices of leaders and employees. Every interaction, every decision, every response to a problem shapes the environment where people spend a third of their lives. 5 years after the trash incident that changed everything, Branch 72 had become something unprecedented in the food service industry, a restaurant that was equally famous for its workplace culture as for its food. Business schools sent students to observe operations, HR professionals studied the transformation process, and other companies regularly requested consultations on implementing similar changes. Owen Matz stood in the same dining room where he had once witnessed an employee being humiliated, now watching a team of workers who genuinely enjoyed their jobs and took pride in their work. The contrast was so stark it seemed impossible that it was the same location. "Mr. Matz," Maria called from behind the counter. "Your usual, please." Owen replied, noting how the simple interaction embodied everything they had worked to achieve: mutual respect, genuine warmth, and professional competence without hierarchy-based fear. The numbers told the story of transformation. Branch 72 had maintained a 95% employee retention rate for 3 consecutive years, achieved the highest customer satisfaction scores in the company's history, and generated profits that exceeded pre-incident levels by 340%. But Owen knew the real measure of success wasn't found in spreadsheets. "The culture we built here isn't just about being nice to people," Diane Chen explained to a group of visiting executives from another restaurant chain. "It's about creating an environment where everyone can do their best work because they feel safe, valued, and heard." Dr. Elijah Brooks had completed similar interventions at 17 other companies with varying degrees of success. The Branch 72 case remained unique because of Owen's willingness to take dramatic action and maintain long-term commitment to change. "Most companies want quick fixes," Elijah noted during a conference presentation. "They want to implement a policy or conduct a training session and consider the problem solved. Real cultural change requires sustained effort and genuine leadership commitment over years, not months." The ripple effects continued to expand. The Branch 72 protocol had been adopted by over 500 companies across various industries. Several states had passed legislation requiring workplace harassment training based on lessons learned from the incident. The National Restaurant Association had established an annual award for workplace excellence named after the transformation. Chad, Darren, Melody, and Jason had all faced legal consequences for their actions, but their stories also became cautionary tales about how toxic workplace cultures develop and persist. Chad's criminal conviction for food safety violations resulted in a permanent ban from food service management, while the others faced civil penalties and struggled to find employment in the industry. "We don't celebrate their downfall," Owen emphasized during interviews, "but we do use their examples to show other managers and employees what happens when workplace harassment is allowed to flourish unchecked." The incident had also influenced Owen's approach to business beyond Wealth Deli. He had become an advocate for what he called authentic capitalism business practices that prioritize long-term sustainability over short-term profits and measured success by impact on all stakeholders, not just shareholders. The old model of extracting maximum value from employees while minimizing investment in their welfare is not just morally wrong, it's economically inefficient. Owen argued during a keynote address to the National Chamber of Commerce. Companies that treat employees well consistently outperform those that don't. The transformation had attracted attention from academic researchers studying organizational behavior. A longitudinal study published in the Harvard Business Review documented how the changes at Branch 72 had created what researchers termed a positive feedback loop. Better treatment led to better performance, which led to better business results, which enabled even better treatment of employees. Maria Vasquez had become a regional manager overseeing 12 locations, each of which implemented the Branch 72 protocol from opening day. Her success had inspired other companies to promote from within and invest in employee development, rather than hiring external managers. "I never thought I'd be in management," Maria reflected during a company leadership retreat. "But this company taught me that leadership isn't about having power over people. It's about creating conditions where everyone can succeed." Harshrider Frank Pearson had completed his degree in human resources and was pursuing a master's degree in organizational psychology, funded entirely by Wealth Delhi's Educational Assistance Program. His research focused on early intervention strategies for preventing toxic workplace cultures from developing. Sarah Williams had graduated with a business degree and was managing her own Wealth Delhi location, applying everything she had learned about creating positive work environments. Her location had become known for its innovative employee development programs and community engagement initiatives. The physical space of Branch 72 had been preserved as it was during the transformation, serving as both a working restaurant and an informal museum of workplace culture change. Visitors could see the break room library, the suggestion system, and the visible monitoring equipment that had become standard across all locations. "Every element here serves a purpose," Diane explained to visitors. "The comfortable break room shows employees they're valued. The suggestion system gives everyone a voice. The monitoring equipment ensures accountability. Together, they create an environment where respect and professionalism are not just expected, but inevitable." Dr. Brooks had written a book about the Branch 72 experience that became required reading in many business programs, but he remained focused on practical application rather than academic theory. The most important lesson, he would tell audiences, is that workplace culture is a choice. Every day, every interaction, every decision either contributes to a positive environment or a toxic one. There's no neutral ground. So, as Owen prepared to leave Branch 72 after his latest visit, he reflected on how a single moment of witnessed cruelty had led to industry-wide changes that improved working conditions for thousands of people. The transformation proved that businesses could be both profitable and ethical, that treating employees well was a competitive advantage rather than a cost, and that authentic leadership could create lasting positive change. "Character is who you are when no one else is watching," Owen said during his final remarks to the staff. "But at Branch 72, we've learned that when everyone is watching, when there's transparency and accountability, people consistently choose to be their best selves." The legacy of Branch 72 extended far beyond a single restaurant or even a single company. It had become proof that workplace dignity was not just a moral imperative, but a business necessity, and that the courage to do what's right, whether you're a CEO confronting toxic management or an employee documenting harassment, could create ripples of positive change that transformed entire industries. Most importantly, it demonstrated that in a world where people often feel powerless in their workplaces, authentic leadership and genuine accountability could restore both dignity and hope to the millions of people who simply wanted to do good work in environments where they were treated with basic human respect. Disclaimer: this content is entirely fictional and created for entertainment purposes only. The story, all names, characters, and incidents portrayed in this production are fictitious. No identification with actual persons, living or deceased places, buildings, and products is intended or should be inferred. No person or entity associated with this content has received any payment or anything of value, or entered into any agreement in connection with the depiction of tobacco products. This video is not intended to defame, insult, or convey false information about any individual.